Right. You know what? I accidentally. Hey, hey, hey. Check that out. How to accidentally. The stop streaming button should be harder to click. There should be an "Are you sure?" There should be an "Are you sure?" Well, anyways, how to be a real streamer. All right. So we have a couple things to go over tonight. I wanted to cover. I feel like maybe I cover a lot of these, but I wanted to cover the message from Andy. I don't know how to say Andy's last name. I should have looked it up. That's one thing I should look up. I should look up names. I always want to say it's like Jassy, or JC. I'm assuming it's JC, but I always want to say Jassy. So Andy JC. I want to cover what he said and what I understand from right now, how I've done things, what I know in the industry, and things like that. I want to give my opinion on that. I have a lot of opinions. I have a feeling of what he's going for there. And I like to do that. I also would like to, another thing I wanted to introduce you guys today to was the CRM Arena Pro. Something I'm kind of excited about. I do a lot of testing AIs, and I want to actually do more and more each AI game. And so there was a new research paper with people that tested AIs differently, and I really like it. It actually did more real world stuff like what we tried to do in the AI games. So I thought that was really cool. And it gave me some ideas for the AI games. So that's really cool. I wanted to talk quickly a little bit later about Darklang. I don't know if you guys know about Darklang, but if you don't, I'm going to introduce you to it, and then we're going to review Google's service outage. I wanted to go over their response. And yeah, we'll go over it. Streaming at midnight. Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to stream this morning. I was up till 4 a.m. Went to sleep at 4 a.m. I had to be up at 8 for work. I decided not to get up at 6 to stream. So I'm doing it this afternoon. That's how that decision was made. Oh, Dutch. I'm so sorry, Dutch. Yeah, I accidentally hit the stop streaming button when I was trying to do the countdown timer. Okay, so let's get into it. Andy, the CEO of Amazon, just released he published an internal memo that he released to the company at Amazon. I wanted to read it with you guys, and then I wanted to go over my thoughts about some of the reasons he could have done this, because there's multiple reasons a CEO might do something like this. And I also want to tell you what I'm kind of doing reading between the lines. I know a little bit of how businesses run. I've been in the industry, and I don't think that you should always read these things as face value. But we'll go over what it means face value, and then we'll go into what it might mean a little bit more. All right. So, message from CEO Andy. I always want to say JC. I'm pretty sure it's Jassy. I don't really know. So we'll just go with Andy. Good old Andy. Some thoughts on generative AI. I've never met him. He's more than welcome on my stream. We'll see. Today, in virtually every corner of the company, we're using generative AI to make customers' lives better and easier. What started as a deep conviction that every customer experience would be reinvented using AI, and that altogether new experience we've only dreamed of would become possible, it's rapidly becoming reality. Oh, I barely got into this. But you know what? Before we start this, let me go over something really quickly. I am getting better about this. Let me show you something really quickly. Let me show you really quickly. So if you go here, which I mean, I will have to restart this. But if you click on the null bytes in this link here, I can show it to you. I'm getting a little bit better about this. So if you missed one of these news segments and want to see those, I'm actually doing it a little bit better, or I'm attempting to. And so bear with me. Where you can go here and get just these segments. So what no one is talking about, I had some, I think there was some stuff that other people didn't talk about. So anyways, I am uploading them a little bit better, or trying to. There's actually 2 more from this that need to get uploaded. One's getting uploaded tonight, and I'll upload another one tomorrow. The one from tonight will be uploaded either tomorrow or the next day. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit better about uploading them here. So yeah, if you want to check out the previous ones, please do. But yes, I did cover it and I uploaded it. So you don't have to like watch the whole thing. Hopefully this makes it a little bit more accessible. The other thing that I hope is that it makes it a little bit easier for people to find the channel. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. We'll see. All right, let's start this again. Thoughts on Metaverse OpenAI? I don't know. What thoughts do you want me to have? I have a lot of thoughts on them. If you guys just want a Merrick rants about the current state of AI hype, I can do an hour-long rant. I need to prepare for it. I'll prepare some material for it. I think that's a big question to ask because, like with blockchain, I have a lot of the same feelings like I do with blockchain, where there is a lot of really cool stuff, and there's going to be a lot of people hurt by things that are overpromised to get investor money. I know what you're talking about. There, like I understand what you're talking about because OpenAI, mental health in children's toys. I get that, but we have to talk about the bigger picture first, and then we have to talk about what companies do with that. I mean, it's not just a straight, oh, could generative AI be bad on something like a child's toy? I think that you could make it very, very useful in a child's toy. I think you have to be very, very, very careful. I think that there are a lot of mental health risks, which is true about using the internet as a whole. Why my children don't get to use the internet all willy-nilly as they're growing up, because I think that there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things in life. You know what? Meth has 100% been proven to stunt your child's mental growth. So like there's just a bunch of stuff, and yeah. So now maybe I shouldn't have done that as meth. That was a bad example, but let me not rant on it today. If you guys are interested in me doing a take on that, I will try to narrow it down to that. But I think really you have to understand the space as a whole, where it's going as a whole, what problems it's going to have as a whole. And yeah. Currently tired of MCP. Meth is bad too. Well, no, my point was like a lot of things are bad, and really good one. I love this one. I love this. Arsenic is actually really bad for you. It's just really bad. But arsenic is also found in your groundwater. You drink a very little bit of it probably every single day. Most people have just trace amounts of arsenic in their water. That's it. It happens. So there's this thing that very little of it does nothing, effectively nothing. But it's also just really, really, really terrible for you. A better one is this is actually maybe better. If you drink green tea, do you like green tea? Do you like green tea? Okay, so people take this stuff here. Green tea extract. All right. So a lot of people will tout the benefits of green tea, and you can go and you can get green tea extract. Did you know that it does have a lot of really good health benefits? But did you know if you take too much of it, it will kill your kidneys or liver? I think it's your liver. I'd have to look it up. This is not medical advice, but it can be very harmful for you if you take too much. This is true about any vitamins and minerals, things you absolutely need. You take too much of them, you'll get a kidney stone. If you eat way too many vitamins and minerals than you're supposed to, your kidneys don't have a way of getting it out, and they make stones. So the moral of the story is even good things and too much are bad for you. Water, great example. You kind of need water to live. You get too much of it and you drown. Again, so this is where to really understand the controversy between the Child's Toys and OpenAI, I think you have to look at it holistically. I think you have to understand, what they're doing and how they're implementing it and what they're leveraging with it. I personally hope to make some videos and maybe some live streams where we use AI to help us avoid obstacles with a drone, which I think would be really cool, really great learning experience, and maybe some great videos. Now, that being said, we could use something like OpenAI with their image processing to try to do something like that. Probably really not bad for your child's mental health, right? Again, this is where I think it has a lot to do with exactly what you're going to be able to do with that integration. Anyways, not today. Today we're talking on something else. Wasn't really prepared for that. You guys get me sidetracked. A robot nanny teacher would be pretty cool, though. This is why I'm saying, you asked me about a very specific thing, but for me to really tell you my thoughts on a very specific thing, I have to talk about the industry as a whole. At least to me, I can't isolate it out quite like that, right? I guess that would be my my feeling on that. And now whether we trust those companies with the data or not, that's a whole nother question, whole nother topic. But I'm actually happy to go into it. It's an interesting conversation if people want it. Yep, I'm not falling for it again. Yeah, you got to sub before you. I'm just joking. Don't do that. Before you can ask another question. No. All right, we're here today to talk about how to lose an employee in 30 days. Actually, that's not true. I want to talk about Amazon, Andy, the CEO of Amazon, today or a couple days ago on June 17th, so yesterday, released an article that he had also released internally. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about it because I think it's really important. A lot of people will read this and say it's over for developers. And I think there's a lot of in between the lines reading that I want to give you my perspective as being a person that has been in the industry, has gotten into some of the levels of management where I might understand maybe what they're headed for. I'm going to give you my ideas, thoughts of what Andy might be trying to do in this. And I'll give you my final opinion at the end on whether I would have released something like this to all of my employees. Let's get into it. Today, in virtually every corner of the company, we're using generative AI to make customer lives better and easier. What started as a deep conviction that every customer experience would be reinvented using AI, and that altogether new experiences we've only dreamed of would become possible, is rapidly becoming a reality. I want to challenge this right here. I have not seen anything out of Amazon that has gotten. I haven't seen one new experience enabled on Amazon.com. I shop there. That's new and rapidly becoming like I just haven't seen this. I haven't seen anything reinvented. I know this is like reinvent it's their keyword. I just haven't seen it from Amazon. To be fair, from Amazon products. Just I haven't seen it. So okay, whatever. Technologies like generative AI are rare. They come about once in a lifetime and completely change what's possible for customers and businesses. I also want to disagree with this. I think that maybe we don't know yet. See, the problem here is he's making a future-facing argument as if it was already reality. And I don't love these, especially when you're talking to your employees, because you're making it sound like the future is now. And what I mean by that is, let's talk about computers. Computers have actually been around for a while. We're talking about actually a little while. Now, computers have revolutionized stuff, but it has taken time for it to revolutionize stuff. Generative AI and AI, if we're talking about neural networks have been around since the 80s, I believe it was, 80s. So they've been around for a while. And the thing is, I do think that there's a lot of really good uses for it. But to say that this is a once-in-a-lifetime invention, you really have to wait until the lifetime to really understand the actually true impact. As we've seen it right now, it hasn't been a once-in-a-lifetime impact so far. This is a future-facing stated as if it's already happened. So we are investing quite extensively, and the progress we are making is evident. I haven't seen this. They have some of the worst AI. Amazon Q is one of the most dented. Sorry for the developers that are working on it. It is absolutely dented. I don't use Amazon Q for just about anything. I have tried to leverage it even for AWS stuff, and it's pretty much atrocious. You can see in what we're rolling out in Alexa Plus. Okay, I don't use Alexa Plus, so maybe their subscriptions are good. I don't know. Our next generation Alexa personal assistants that meaningfully smarter, more capable, and is the first personal assistant that can take significant actions for customers on top of providing intelligent answers to virtually anything. But I got my AI pen. I don't need anything. I can do it all on my hand. See, look at this. I just ordered pizza. Okay. You can see it with our AI shopping assistant that's been used by tens of millions of customers around the world to discover new products and make more informed purchase decisions. I actually looked for this AI shopping assistant. I have never used it before. Very interesting. I actually had to look, right, AI powered shopping recommendations. I think that's what they mean. It's, they did search. It's okay. You can see an increasing array of shopping features like Lens. Very cool to be able to take a picture of an item and have it pull up a shopping result. Buy for me, where you can ask our shopping agent to buy an item on another merchant's website. I actually didn't know this part. That scares me. I've never leveraged this. I actually just, I don't need to ask somebody, but that's fine. This is actually very interesting. I didn't know this was powered by AI. And I think that this is actually really cool. I don't know that it was you. Like, this seems to me, when you're talking about this, the recommended size, where you can predict the right size based off of prior purchase, this is grouping all statistical analysis all statistical analysis as AI. This means Google search has been AI for 20 years. This means that, and I think that this is over-grasping. And I hope that I'm talking to some Amazon employees because I want to give them a little bit of hope here. All right. You can see it in how we're helping our independent sellers more easily create new product detail pages or get advice on how to be even more effective as a seller in our marketplace. This is probably true. Again, super advanced statistical analysis is awesome in this. When you're getting into those types of things, I do think that this could help and be helpful to a lot of people. Nearly 500,000 selling partners are using these services, and the listings they're creating are meaningfully better. I believe this, absolutely. You can see it in advertising, where we've built a suite of AI tools that made it easier for brands to plan, onboard, create, and optimize campaigns. In Q1 alone, over 50,000 advertisers used these capabilities. Okay. You probably could have built non-AI things. Again, I don't know what these tools were, but cool. And you see it where we're delivering in AWS for builders, whether it's custom silicon or to provide a better price performance on model training and inference services that make it much easier to build foundational models, SageMaker, or leverage learning frontier models and do Gen AI inference at scale, Bedrock, our own frontier model, Nova, to give customers leading intelligence at lower latency and cost. So again, I'm going to argue here, none of this is actually AI. None of this that he's talking about is AI. This is actually just powering other people's AI. This isn't an AI thing doing something. This is hardware that they built. This is a SageMaker, a thing that they did. I guess Nova here, but this is like something they sell. Again, none of this stuff is really changing how people shop, changing how people use Amazon or things like that, or AWS even. We're also using generative AI broadly across our internal organizations. In our fulfillment network, we're using AI to improve inventory placement, demand forecasting, and the efficiency of our robots. Okay, again, a sufficiently advanced statistical analysis machine is going to do these things amazingly. This is why I think it should be in security, where you're looking for anomaly detection. If we're talking about this, anomaly detection has been a thing for a long time and is a thing for AI to do. These are really, really good uses. And I think that perfect. They are probably actually revolutionizing these. We've rebuilt our customer service chatbot with Gen AI. Fine. It still sucks, providing an even better experience than we had before. And we're assembling an intelligent and compelling product detail page for leveraging Gen AI. For this, and the reason I say it still sucks, is I want to talk to you guys about Klarna. Remember, Klarna is classically the company who threw away all of their customer service people and did it all with AI. And 2 years after they started doing this, been all in. These people have to know customer service chatbots because they've literally been driving the technology in the space, started hiring customer service representatives. Why? Because while it's good and it has done it, it is not as good as a human. So even from what I would say the leader in the space, and yes, it could cut jobs and probably should cut jobs in that. It has not completely replaced. But cool. They made their customer service chatbot better. Good. This is like the one Gen AI thing that they've done in this entire list of things. Andy, do better, please. You are the CEO of a huge corporation. When you say how AI has reforecast Gen AI, the first Gen AI thing that you talk about in actuality is this down here. I want people to realize that. This is really the first Gen AI stuff. Let's continue. All right. And we're assembling more. Actually, I'll take that back. I don't know what these tools are. These might be Gen AI. Okay, they might be. like helping you write product detail pages or scripts for like, yeah, I got it. Could be. I don't know what they are. I could go on, but you get the idea. No, please go on. I'd like to actually see the Gen AI stuff. While we made a lot of progress, we're still at the relative beginning. I agree. There were a few reasons we believe this, and we want to go even faster. First, we have strong conviction that AI agents will change how we all work and live. Think of agents as software systems that use AI to perform tasks on behalf of users or other systems. Agents let you tell them what you want, often in natural language, and do things like scour the web and various data sources and summarize results, engage in deep research, write code, find anomalies, highlight interesting insights, translate language and code into other variants, and automate a lot of tasks that consumes our time. Will be billions of these agents across every company and in every imaginable field. There will also be agents that routinely do things for you outside of work, from shopping to travel to daily chores and tasks. Many of these agents have yet to be built, but make no mistake, they're coming and coming fast. Again, this is somewhat of that future speaking. This is going into that future speaking where you're stating it like it's true, like it has happened, but it hasn't happened yet, and so there's actually a lot of uncertainty. This is actually Andy's take on the future, and this is fine. I actually think that there's probably a good chance that something like this will exist, at least for some systems. Absolutely. But what that will actually look like, I can tell you the people that created the first computers would have had no idea about a phone. Those things were in rooms. All right. I remember seeing a picture of a stick of 64 kilobytes of memory that was the size of my desk. All right. Those were the first computers. Anyways. Yeah. So I'm sure over the next 100 years, things like this will be out there. Absolutely. Second, what makes this agentic future so compelling for Amazon is that these agents are going to change the scope and speed at which we can innovate for customers. Agents will allow us to start almost everything from a more advanced starting point. We'll be able to focus less on rote work and more on thinking strategically about how to improve customer experiences and invent new ones. Agents will be teammates that do not call them teammates, Andy. That's just, just don't call them teammates. I'm tired of this. I got to talk to the people making teammates.ai, and I literally was like, some of the worst PR you could do is calling it teammates. That gives me a knee-jerk yuck reaction. Just please. Agents will be teammates that we can call on at various stages of work that will get wiser and more helpful with more experience. If we build and leverage the right agents, it's going to rapidly accelerate our ability to make customers' lives easier and better every day. And it's going to make our jobs even more exciting and fun than they are today. Hopefully. And third, we're going to be I can't read. We're going to keep pushing to operate like the world's largest startup. Customer assessed, inventive, not initiative, but inventive. But they might take initiative too. Who knows? Fast moving, lean, scrappy, and full of missionaries trying to build something better for customers and a business that outlasts us all. You will continue to see Steam, and I take action to help us move faster, have more ownership, and invent more easily. AI will be a substantial catalyst here. Today, we have 1,000 generative AI services and applications in progress or built. But at our scale, that's a small fraction of what we will ultimately build. We're going to learn. So we haven't even gotten to the controversy part yet. We're getting there. We're going to lean in further in the coming months. We're going to make it much easier to build agents and then build or partner on several new agents across all of our business units and GA areas. As we roll out more generative AI agents, it should change the way our work is done. We will need fewer people in doing some of the jobs that are being done today and more people doing other types of jobs. It's hard to know exactly where this nets out over time, but in the next few years, we expect that there will be a reduce in our total corporate workforce as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively across the company. And our ad starts in 30 seconds. We're going to stop there and wait for the ad to finish for people. And then we're going to come back to this. While the ad's going, I will talk with our whoever doesn't get an ad. Coincidence fragment by fragment gives it more weight than. Well, I'm trying to just give my thoughts on what he said. I feel like it could have been better. Could have been better. This was, you also had to know all of this stuff over here and understand it before we got to this part. And I actually want to talk about how companies hire or should hire, especially if they want to be the world's largest startup. So we're going to get into that as soon as people are back. We got 2 minutes. I think it is important. Gray Hatter, and the only reason I cover this is because people read this and it gives them a sense of doom and gloom. And so I like to put it in perspective of what we've actually seen. You know, when they're up here and they're like, we've already seen AI transform a ton of stuff. And then they talk about how they built SageMaker. It's not. My whole point in going in that is to point out that all the things that they're pointing out weren't actually generative AI. I mean, it wasn't generative AI doing stuff. The only thing that they really pointed out was Alexa Plus, which I've never used. It's interesting. They didn't even talk about Amazon Q because I'm serious. It's even more dented than Gemini. Absolutely more dented than Gemini. And so I think it's really important because they see this and people don't necessarily understand that it's fluff and that type of stuff. They see this and they're like, oh, Bedrock, SageMaker, Nova. Oh my goodness. Look at all the stuff that they've got out there. And so I'm trying to put it somewhat in perspective. Now, I know that if you're an Amazon employee, you understand these things. And for the Amazon employee, I really want to talk about this. What was Andy trying to do when saying this? All right. I think we're back. All right, so this is really where it got people flustered. As we roll out more generative AI agents, it should change the way our work is done. We will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today and more people doing other types of jobs. It's hard to know exactly where this nets out over time, but in the next few years, we expect that this will reduce our total corporate workforce as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively across the company. Now, this has a couple oddities. First off, generally, startups work like this. So, startups, and he stated previously in this article that they want to work as the world's largest startups. So, if you have, if you're talking about revenue over, expenses, we're just going to keep it really easy, really simple. So as your revenue increases, you can increase your expenses. And a lot of times people increase their expenses by hiring people. So if he's really a lot of times startups will actually operate in the red, which means they actually don't have revenue, which means that their expenses far exceed their revenue. As they burn through money to try to get something out there, and they try to do it fast enough where they eventually start to get that revenue. Now, I assume that what he would mean is that they want to basically break even, where their expenses meets their revenue, and they match in that way. So if you're really trying to work as the world's largest startup, the more revenue that you make, the more people you would hire, especially if people allow you to expand your service. So this is a little bit of an incongruency here with this, because just because something makes you more efficient and you need fewer people to do it. So let's say in their coding, just writing software, they need 300 people right now. Now, need is very subjective in this case, because how many people do they need to keep the lights on? And how many people do they need to expand their services are very different numbers, right? I'm going to just group them all together because this isn't like a deep dive in the different metrics here. We're just going to leave them all together. But there's a lot of information that goes in here about how many you need. But so let's say that we need 300 people, and then we get efficiencies. And I'll go off of the deep end and say that we get the 100% efficiency. So we need half of the people that we did to do the same amount of productivity. So that would mean that we only need 150 people after all of those efficiencies, right? Now your company's at a crossroads. What do you do? Well, there are a couple things that you could do here. You could fire 150 people, and that's way too thick. You could fire 150 people and take that as savings. Now, this, if you're losing money, is a very valid method to save money. This is also a classic thing of big company where they cut the workforce to increase the profits for stakeholders or stocks. So, if you're wanting to pay out a dividend, you decrease the number of people and you kind of try to, operate as efficiently as possible, because then you get to pass that on to your shareholders, right? So this is a valid method, but if you're operating as the world's largest startup, if you get this efficiency and you had something that requires 300 jobs that goes down to 150, and I'm assuming that your revenue is staying still or increasing, you now have freed up 150 people to do something else, to increase your product some other way, to expand upon what you want. So this is the incongruency that I see here. As Andy first said that they're trying to work as the world's largest startup, and then they said that it will reduce their total corporate workforce as they get efficiency gains. This doesn't actually translate, and I believe is probably my biggest problem with this. It means that uh, either he was lying here or he's lying here, unless if he's saying that human work goes to the value of 0, but that's not what he said up here. So it doesn't actually fit. And this is where I was going to talk to you about reading between the lines of large CEOs. Now, I'm not a large CEO. I've never been that. I would never actually do a good job at that role. These people are way smarter than I am. I give them that, at least that much credit. But let's talk about what I've seen a lot of this. Sometimes people will release things like this in an attempt to get people, I'm going to say, I had a term for this. It's where you get the people to quit. Let's say you don't want to do layoffs. Layoffs are kind of expensive. If you actually do layoffs, it costs the company severances for a lot of people. So if you're paying severances and it costs you money, if those people just leave, you don't have to pay them severance or any of that type of stuff. It also doesn't hurt your unemployment if you're paying for unemployment. And so it's actually easier if you get people to just quit. You could call this silent layoffs. I don't know. I had a better term that I thought was funnier, and I can't remember it now. But this is one thing that he could be trying to do. He could be trying to get people to just leave. The other thing that he could be doing here is just inadvertent mistake. Like I said, he kind of contradicts himself between this here and this up here. I see this as an incongruency because, again, if you're trying to operate as the world's largest startup, as you get more efficiencies, that lets you leverage those people in different places. I've worked in a few startups, and most startups are trying to hire the people they need. If you look at somebody like OpenAI is now trying to expand as quicker than they originally were. If you're looking at things like that, that's how those people work. So that's just my take on this here. He's either trying to get people to quit without laying them off, or he didn't think this message through, which I also don't believe. Today we have, as we roll out, this is where we are. As we go through this transformation together, be curious about AI, educate yourself, attend workshops, and take trainings. Use and experiment with AI whenever you can. Participate in your team's brainstorms to figure out how to invent for our customers more quickly and expansively, and how to get more done with scrappier teams. When I first started in Amazon in 1997 as an assistant product manager, I worked on leaner teams that got a lot done quickly, where I could have substantial impact. We don't have tools resembling anything like generative AI, but we had broad remits, high ambition, and saw the opportunity to improve and invent so many customer experiences. Fast forward 28 years, and the most transformative technology since the internet is here. Those who embrace this change became reading is difficult. Those who embrace this change become conversant in AI, help us build and improve our AI capabilities internally, and deliver for customers, will be well positioned to have high impact and help us reinvent the company. They love the word reinvent. I can't blame them. So there's so much more to come with generative AI. I'm energized by our process, excited about our plans ahead, and looking forward to participating with you all as we change what's possible for our customers, partners, and how we work. So, what do you think? Do you think this was a way to get people to quit? Have you found a startup? My question is this. Have you found a startup who has ever fired people to get more done? Because that's what he said he was going to do. Now, I do think that there is a broad concept that people are fighting against right now that I don't know that they have a good way of doing it. Andy in this and Mark Zuckerberg have also stated this, where they're trying to flatten the hierarchical structure because Andy, as he mentions here in his thing, back in 1997, back when I was a little child, and the problem that he's running into is back in 1997 when he joined, they didn't have as many constraints. A lot of companies slow down as they have more constraints. What was the cost of an outage in 1997 for Amazon, a bookstore? The cost was probably not nearly as substantial as an outage now. What was the cost of messing up then? So you can move faster when the impact of a failure is worse. Probably a lot of what causes them to go slow is bureaucracy that's been put in place to make sure and prevent something bad from happening. So I think that they're up against these a rock and a hard place with these because they're fighting against a lot of what makes them what they are today, right? And this is a problem for all large companies. Now, is it flattening that's going to help? I actually don't think flattening is going to help because if you're actually raising good leaders, if your directors are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're actually empowering the teams below them. They should be a force to empower them to move faster. And a lot of people are saying that they cause bureaucracy and things like that. If they're actually causing bureaucracy, then your directors are not doing their job. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not empowering the teams. And that's a whole different problem that you have to solve. Now, what about the bureaucracy itself? A lot of the times that's self-inflicted. It's there for a reason. Amazon is HIPAA certified, NIST, I'm sure, SOC 2, SOX. They have all these certifications. These certifications also slow them down. They have government, their government cloud, which has a whole bunch. If you're talking like FedRAMP, it has a whole bunch of things that will also slow you down. These are things that you've taken on to purposefully slow you down. There's not an easy solution to those. And I feel for these people because I know that they're trying to act like a startup when they've taken on things that are not startup. There's not much you can do about it. Well, I mean, there is. But I'm not sure that they're doing the right thing about it. Anyways, what were your guys' thoughts? Do you think this was a silent firing? Do you think that it was just poorly worded? Again, I don't believe that. Or do you think it was something else? Not silent firing. Silent, words are difficult. How are you, Sergeant Pepper? I gotta go open my door. I am sweating. I had to shut the door because the kids were being loud. All right. The next things are going to be pretty short, I think. Yeah. Should be pretty short. Hey, Bobby. Hey, buddy. Oh, boy. Good boy. Yeah. You good boy. Yeah, you are. Okay. Oh, you need some more pets. 1 second. We got to take a quick pet break. He is 7 months old now. Yeah, he's gonna be a big boy. He is 7 months and 75 pounds? I worry he's gonna be over 150 pounds. It's a strong worry of mine. All right, let's talk. As most of you probably know, I am huge into testing and understanding how AIs actually work. It's something that I've invested a lot of time into. It's something I've shown you guys, and I deliver free results every single year. We're going to be doing the AI games this winter. I usually do it over Christmas break at some point during that break. And so we'll be getting into that a little bit more later this year. But as I go through the year, I'm always watching what other people are doing. And there was actually a really cool test of AIs that actually followed a lot of the methodologies that I do. And now I think these people actually did a better job than I do. I know it's somebody doing better research than me. It's a little surprising, but yeah. And this is from the Salesforce AI research team, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I think it's actually really cool, and I'm hoping to see more of these type of tests. So the CRM Arena Pro, a holistic assessment of LLM agents across diverse business scenarios and interactions. Now, this is, to be careful, there was already a CRM Arena before this. This is the Dash Pro. This is like the new bit here, and we'll get into a little bit of that. But let's just read the abstract really quickly and understand basically some of the very high-level results of this. While AI agents have transformative potential in business, and just to be clear at the very beginning of this, Salesforce has been very on board with the adoption of AI agents. If you're talking about agent force, that's their big thing that they're pushing. So I would consider them to be a little bit biased towards AI agents, which I think actually gives this a little bit more validity. While AI agents have transformative potential in business, the absence of publicly available business data on widely used platforms hinders effective performance benchmarking. This has been my big gripe for a very long time. It's why I do the AI games in the first place, because they're so bad. Existing benchmarks fall short in realism, data fidelity, agent user interaction, and coverage across business scenarios and industries. To address these gaps, we introduced CRM Arena Pro, a novel benchmark for holistic and realistic assessments of LLM agents in diverse professional settings. CRM Arena Pro expands on CRM Arena with 19 expert validated tasks across customer sales, service, as well as configure, price, and quote for business to business and business to consumer scenarios. It also incorporates multi-turn interactions guided by diverse persons and confidentiality awareness assessments. Experiments. So basically, you know, as I said a lot of times with the AI games, a lot of the reasons I do that is I find that the benchmarks as they stand don't really give you a clear picture. I think there's a bug in here. Anyways, they don't give you a clear picture of how good AI is actually done. And we've talked about some of the reasons of that. And a lot of that is because they overtrain and they train on data that's actually in the tests, which is something we've talked an extensive about. But there's a lot of reasons that they do better at these synthetic tests than they do in real world. You'll see a 2x improvement in the test, but not a 2x improvement in how they actually perform. And this is why I started the AI games in the first place and have done all of that work. Anyways, experiments show leading LLM agents achieve approximately solely 58% single turn success rate on CRM Arena Pro. When they say single turn, it basically means when one agent does one thing and that's it. It only needs one turn, a single turn. This is actually something that we have done a little bit, but actually in this winter AI games that's coming up, we're actually going to be testing the multi-turn a lot more. We've tested a lot of single turn stuff, and we're going to be working on the multi-turn more. I have a couple really sweet ideas for that. With significant performance drops in multi-turn settings to 35%. Among the business's skills evaluated, workflow execution is notably more tractable, with top performing agents surpassing 38% success rates in single turn tasks, while other skills present greater challenges. Additionally, agents exhibit near zero inherent confidentiality awareness, improvable with prompting, but often to the cost of task performance. So what they're saying here is that inherently humans have some especially, as you learn, as you grow up, things you shouldn't repeat. Your parents kind of teach you that. You're like, you know that, but you shouldn't tell them that. Yes, their hair looks terrible, but don't tell them that to their face. You learn. And these don't have that ability, or the AIs that they tested. They did find out that and we'll look, I'm not going to read the whole research. I actually read through all of the research before doing this. They found you could prompt, you could prompt and like do some really good prompting to increase the ability for its confidentiality awareness. But as you increased it, it was almost directly decreasing how successfully it achieved the task that you were asking it to, which was pretty interesting to see. Like, as you increase that, it went up. Anyways. Additionally, agents exhibit near zero. These results underscore a significant gap between current LLM capabilities and real-world enterprise demands, highlighting needs for improved multi-turn reasoning, confidentiality adherence, and versatile skill acquisition. All right. So this is what it does. This is the CRM Arena Pro. And this is what it was trying to do. It was trying to do, this isn't even strictly looking at coding. A lot of times we're talking about coding and challenging AIs with leveraging different workflows to perform coding tasks. And something in the new AI games that are coming out later this year, we're actually going to be testing them on things other than just coding. So it's going to be a little bit more comprehensive in that regard. But this was, and it makes sense. Salesforce is obsessed with sales, right? So they were looking at a lot of stuff that their agents would have to do. So this wasn't even coding, something I would consider harder. This was doing things like this: business scenarios from business to customer and business to business, service, sales, CPQ, single turn, multi-turn, and confidentiality awareness. So these were the things that it was trying to test on. So these are the things that they were adding to the CRM Arena, and the things that they wanted to understand better. We've all known the confidentiality awareness is actually a problem. This is why you don't feed it confidential information, because it's just bad at keeping your data. They're notoriously bad about this. So anyways, I'm going to drop a link to this. I actually think this type of testing is the future of AIs. I think that, if you ask me, I would love to make a framework or more frameworks through the AI games that did this level of testing. Some of this is type of manual testing that you have to do. But anyways, so I would love to see more of this type of testing, because I think this is going to give us more valid results. When you say that, hey, it did better in these things here, that it actually will do better in real life. Because again, like I said, we've seen so many times when it hasn't. The CRM Arena actually looks like it does a pretty good job. One of the things I wanted to point out, you can look here, realistic environment, blah, 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 blah. The Pro, this one does so much. That was the advertisement. What I did want to point out is here, down here was a pretty graph. Here we go. Not that graph. 1 second. Did I miss it? I don't think I did. I wanted to see their single turn versus multi-turn. So basically, one of the things that they did find, and I should have bookmarked it. Next time I'll bookmark it. I'm trying to think if I can. Let's see if I can't find it. Oh, okay. Here we go. So this was basically looking at. So they have different skills here: workflow, policy, text, database, all. And they were doing B2B versus B2C, and then they did it in multi-turn setting, and basically where there was multiple actions that needed to be done. Because everybody is like, they look at things like ChatGPT and they're like, okay, it can do this one thing. And the multi-turn setting is really how can we chain these things together and how well do they do with that chaining? And one of the things I found really interesting was that some of these drop off drastically. Like Gemini Pro here did really well on the workflow, and it did quite a bit worse just by one. We're talking about like on policy, it did almost half as well. Text, just quite a bit worse when you add one more step in. So this was all I wanted to show you. I found it interesting because it's something we hadn't really been testing previously. And I'm not going to bore you with all of the details of all of the stuff that they did. Again, we'll be doing some of this in the AI games, but I wanted to show it to you guys. I think it's really awesome. Somebody else out there has seen this and said, hey, all the testing out there sucks and doesn't really give us a realistic view. All right. I've been throwing around some ideas for some projects to do. I've been throwing around some projects to do, and I always keep an open eye for open source that's interesting. And I saw a move I wanted to show you all. I think it's actually a really cool tool if you're like a pseudo software engineer. It's interesting. I wanted to show it to you all. Darklang goes open source. So originally, when I first talked to you all about Darklang was source available, and I'm always a little hesitant to do anything with source available. The whole premise behind Darklang was that you could basically program and have a service all in the same little environment. It was actually a really cool idea, and I think it stemmed from some of the same pains that I was talking about when I'm talking about like the Null cloud and things that I would like to solve, that those hard problems, those infrastructure. Okay, I wrote some code, but it can't really run and needs some gateway in front of it and security and VPCs and all of this other stuff that you just don't want to deal with. You want to write your code, you want to write your services, you want to write your functions, you want to write your features, and you want to like just everything else be taken care of for you. Well, Darklang kind of took that same premise, and it was really interesting, but it was closed source. As part of shutting down Dark Incorporated and forming Darklang Incorporated, we finally open sourced all of our repositories. Our source code is now under the Apache 2.0 license. So if you want to go check out their source code, you can now. You don't have to worry about it. If you know what F# is, I had to go look it up. Like, What's F sharp? I actually knew what F sharp was. I got you. You guys thought I didn't. I did know that it was the little brother to C sharp. I think that's an interesting choice. I have not actually seen F sharp used in a project before, so that just blew my mind. I'd love to actually talk to them about how they liked using it. I would love to, like, why did they pick it, and how have they appreciated the last 2 years? For years, we've wrestled with the question of sustainability, how to build something that truly empowers developers. We've long believed in open source philosophy, but felt that Darklang's unique architecture and business model required a different approach. Why we initially chose closed source or source available, we originally designed Darklang to host only as a hosted only platform where you'd code at the darklang.com and programs would instantly be live in production. This is really cool. I like the concept. We believe this centralized approach was necessary for features like safe code migration and unified deployment, and offering self-hosting would undermine our sustainability model. The core challenge was building something valuable while ensuring we could continue working on it long term. Traditional open source funding models all had limitations, so Darklang was designed as a language with a business model. Users with serious workloads would find ecosystem development through our hosting platform. What changed our thinking? So I wanted to read this all with you guys because I think it's a cool growth. They kind of list out why they went from source available, what their thing is, monetizing this. I'm not going to blame them. They started out source available. Like, this is the better way to do it. Instead of going from open source to closed source to open source to closed source to a different open source one. Yes, I'm looking at you, Redis. Instead of doing that, they started with source available, and now they've kind of grown up and they're exploring their sustainability model. I don't blame companies for trying to understand how to actually fund the development of the thing they're making. This makes perfect sense to me. What changed our thinking? 3 key shifts changed our perspectives: product maturity and user feedback. The real barrier to Darklang's adoption was never licensing, it was product maturity. As we've gotten closer to building something people love, staying source available started feeling like an unnecessary risk. We constantly heard that people wanted us to be more open. Okay. Building for local first development. Our technical direction evolved significantly. We're now building Darklang to run locally as a CLI, with the ability to deploy to our cloud or elsewhere. Nobody wants to run a proprietary language binary on their own machine. I think this is probably a big deal. Even whatever I do with the Null cloud should be able to be run on a different cloud. One, because why would you trust my hosting as a small company, as a small one single person thing, just playing around? But also when you're talking about multi-cloud and things like that, it's really important to be able to deploy it wherever you want. Especially, let's say you design something on Darklang. This is something that I always think about with a smaller company, and why open source is always really a nice option there, is what if that company just goes away? What if Darklang goes away? Well, if they go away and it's open source, I can go and run that wherever I want. I can go and run it wherever I need to. It's simple, it's easy, and we can take it from there. Now, it would still suck because development of the product would have stalled at that point, but at least my product doesn't just die. Yeah, you just all need puppy pets. Okay, you go away. You go away. Okay. Yeah, go away. So I think this is probably a pretty big deal here as far as people adopting it. I would never be able to adopt this at a company without knowing that I'd be able to run it somewhere else if they went away. New business opportunities. The developer tool market has matured since 2017. We're now seeing successful companies charging for team collaboration features and AI-powered tools while keeping the core platform accessible. This is actually a really cool take, is that they're saying, hey, their first idea on how to make sure that they had sustainability, how they could fund future growth of the product has changed. They're deciding that we'll make the core thing open source and we'll charge for our AI features. One of my favorite companies that have done this is Zed. Zed makes a fantastic editor. They do not pay me to say that, although they could. And they're charging for their AI features that they're adding on to a really fantastic editor. So I really think that is an option. You can do these things where you have add-ons, where you have enterprise features that you sell on top of the platform. And so I think that is a viable way to make money with your open source while keeping the base thing open for the people like me. Why open source? Open source enables Darklang to be accessible, inspectable, and community owned. It aligns with our philosophy of democratizing programming and ensures the platform can persist and evolve regardless of any single company's fate. This is what I was talking about, right? Like, yeah, what if they go away? Companies fail. You have a little bit of trust that Azure is going to be there or AWS is going to be there. And if AWS isn't there anymore, there's bigger problems that you have to solve, right? But Darklang, there's really not a reason. You don't know that the company is going to be successful. You're kind of making a big bet, especially if you spend countless hours developing in their language that's only proprietary to them. We've learned how to deliver Darklang's key benefit, invisible infrastructure, deployless deployment, trace-driven development without requiring our specific editor or hosting environment. This makes open source viable while preserving what makes Darklang special. Open question. We're still exploring some interesting technical challenges around licensing in the Darklang ecosystem. GitHub handles this by attaching license.md files. But in a world where a package manager syncs types and functions directly, there are some neat challenges to think through. The core platform being open source gives us a solid foundation to build on. I thought this was really cool. Worth sharing. Darklang is a cool take on that infrastructure problem that I have had many thoughts on. So it's always been a platform that I say it's always. I've only known about it. I didn't know it was back in 2017. I thought it was the last 2 years, but it's been something that I've seen that I thought was an interesting take on those types of things. And so I'll be watching it more in the future. All right. Last topic for today. Cloudflare service outage. I know everybody wanted to hear more about this. As you all know, I thought one of the big things that Cloudflare did, what they did right and nobody was talking about, is they took ownership. They made design decisions. They used GCP, and when GCP went down, they didn't have the right redundancies, and that was their bad, and their services went down, and that was their bad. And I think they did an excellent job of just taking ownerships for that and not even mentioning Google going down here. Now, I almost guarantee you that they are not going to be using Google in the future, as they already talked about trying to move off of that as a thing. And it's awfully weird that they used a different cloud. When you become a cloud provider, you're kind of there's like this unsung rule. Do we sing our rules? I don't know. I don't sing our rules, but maybe these people sing their rules. But there's an unsung rule that you don't use other people's cloud to build your cloud, unless you're Vercel, and then Vercel's just a wrapper around AWS. But that being said, they just owned it. It was their bad, and that was really cool. They didn't sit here and blame somebody, and I think they not only earned kudos for that, but I wanted to call it out because a lot of times I've been in the same thing where I say, well, it's Amazon's fault. I can actually think in 2016 when Amazon US West 1 or US East 1 went down and took down 3/4 of the internet, my part included. And part of me was like, it's Amazon's bad. It's not my bad. But it was my design decisions, whether it was using Amazon, whether it was not leveraging more stuff. In the end, I would never have had the funding to not go down during that. I would have never been multi-cloud. And so that would have been fine. But it was still a decision that I made and or the company made. And the company has to own that we weren't multi-cloud at that point. So I thought that was cool. And I already talked about that. But what I want to talk about now is Google Cloud's response, because while you see here, Cloudflare, the day of, I'm sure ChatGPT was working hard to help them write some of this, because day of, we get charts, we get remediation and follow-up steps, we get all of this information the night that this happened, we had to wait a whole day for this paragraph, these 5 paragraphs here. Let's cover this. Let's talk about what Google said went wrong. And what can we learn from this? I love learning from other people's mistakes. You know why? Mistakes are painful. And if we can learn from their mistakes, hopefully we can stop making, we can not do this mistake before we have to make it. Because usually I learn from my own mistakes, but those are painful. I'd love to learn from somebody else's mistakes before I have to do that. Google Cloud, Google Workspace, Google Security Operations, products experienced increased 503 errors in external API requests impacting customers. I was one of these. We deeply apologize for the impact this outage has had. I appreciate that. Google Cloud customers and their users trust their businesses to Google, and we will do better. We apologize for the impact that this has had, not only on our customers' business and their users, but also on the trust of our systems. We are committed to making improvements to avoid outages like this moving forward. Google, the biggest thing that you could do to make me trust yours was to actually use your own system. If you're going to use Spanner at Google, use the Spanner that GCP provides. If you're going to use compute, use GCP compute. If you are going to build a product, build it off of GCP. The fact that Google search didn't go down or any of your other big stream products was a problem. Only a few of your services were hit, which was Google Meets, I believe, and security operations. There was a few other things, but the fact that more people were impacted by this than you was probably the biggest problem there. Google and Google Cloud APIs are served through Google API management and control planes. Distributed regionally, these management and control planes are responsible for enriching each API request that comes in, is authorized, has the policy and appropriate checks, like quota. Quota is going to be a big deal, to meet their endpoints. The core binary that is part of this policy check system is known as service control. Service control is a regional service that has a regional data store that it reads quota and policy information from. This data store metadata gets replicated almost instantly globally to manage quota policies for Google Cloud and our customers. On May 29th, 2025, a new feature was added to service control for additional quota policy check. This code change and binary release went through our region by region rollout, but the code path that failed was never exercised during this rollout due to needing a policy change that would trigger the code. So basically, they released a new feature, but that feature wasn't actually used or leveraged because there would actually need to have a policy change that would leverage that. So there's a unexecuted code path. Obviously, there was no test written for this and no integration test as well, because that would have exercised that code path. As a safety precaution, this code change came with a red button to turn off the particular policy serving path. That's an interesting safety precaution that they have. It sounds like this they made this big red button for this code change. So to me, this says they knew that this could cause problems. I interrupt this regularly scheduled program to thank you, Scott B, for your subscription. Super appreciate it. Super happy to have you here. Hopefully you guys are liking a little bit of change in content. The issue with this change was that it did not have appropriate error handling, nor was it feature flag protected. Without the appropriate error handling, the null pointer caused the binary to crash. Null pointers. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. It wasn't written in Rust. Confirmed, Google is not using Rust in service control. Feature flags are used to gradually enable the feature region by region per project, starting with internal projects, to enable us to catch issues. If this had been flag protected, the issue would have been caught in staging. Well, let's move on. There's some interesting tidbits in here that we're going to come back to. On June 12th, a policy change was inserted into the regional spanner tables that the service control uses for policies. Given the global nature of quota management, this metadata was replicated globally within seconds. This policy data contained uninitiated blank fields. Service control then regionally exercised quota checks on policies in each regional data store. This pulled in blank fields for this respective policy change and exercised the code path that hit the null pointer, causing the binaries to go into a crash loop. This occurred globally, given each regional deployment. Within 2 minutes, our SRE team was triaging the incident. Within 10 minutes, the root cause was identified, and the red button to disable the serving path was being put in place. The red button was rolled out 25 minutes from the start of the incident. Within 40 minutes of the incident, the red button rollout was completed, and we started seeing recovery across regions, starting with the smaller ones first. Within some of our larger regions, such as US Central 1, as service control tasks restarted, it created a herd effect on the underlying infrastructure. It depends on, i.e. spanner table, overloading the infrastructure. Service control did not have the appropriate randomized exponential backoff implemented to avoid this. It took up to 2 hours and 40 minutes to fully resolve in US Central 1 as we throttled task creation to minimize the impact on the underlying infrastructure and routed traffic to multi-regional database to reduce the load. At that point, service control and API serving was fully recovered across all regions. Corresponding Google and Google Cloud products started recovering, with some taking longer depending on the architecture. Immediately upon recovery, we froze all changes to the service control stack and manual policy pushes until we can completely remediate the system. How did we communicate? We posted our first incident report to the cloud service health about 1 hour after the start of the crashes. Not acceptable, Google. This was interesting because when this was first going on, I caught it faster than Google caught it. I caught it before their SRE team was notified by it. Oh, no, it said within 10 minutes, the root cause was, okay, 2 minutes. I probably caught it about as fast as their SRE team caught it. This is fine, 2 minutes, not a problem. This is not, though. Due to the cloud service health infrastructure being down due to this outage. This is a problem that a lot of companies don't do correctly. Your service health cannot depend on your service. This is amateur. This is amateur. If your service health status and dashboard depend on your service being available, this goes 2016 US East 1 going down AWS style. Their service status board also depended on US East 1. So when US East 1 went down, you could no longer get the status of their services. It's amateur hour. This is amateur. You can't have a status, a cloud service health that depends on your infrastructure. Period. Sorry. It has to be on a completely separate stack. Done. For some customers, the monitoring infrastructure they had running on Google Cloud was also failing, leaving them without a signal of the incident or an understanding of the impact to their business and or infrastructure. We will address this going forward. Beyond freezing the system, as mentioned above, we'll prioritize and safely complete the following. We will I almost said monetize, modularize service control architecture so the functionality is ISID and fails open. Thus, if a corresponding check fails, service control can still serve API requests. This is interesting. I don't know that I think this is a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think they need to do this. This opens it up to certain attacks where you actually try to get it in an unfavorable state for it to fail open, right? I don't know. To me, service control does not sound like really a security thing. So maybe this isn't a big deal, but it does seem like it is like part of what they would leverage in like a DDoS or whatnot when you're talking about those types of policies. So I don't know if this is the best and feels more like a knee jerk. It feels more like it should be tested better and have better integration tests, and maybe be rewritten in Rust. Just maybe. We will audit all systems that consume globally replicated data, regardless of the business need for near instantaneous consistency of the data globally, i.e., quota management settings are global. We will enforce all changes to critical binaries to be feature flag protected and disabled by default. We will improve our static analysis and testing practices to correctly handle errors, and if need be, fail open. We will audit and ensure our systems employed randomized exponential backoff. This is another. To be fair, to be completely honest, a lot of these seem like easy to make, but amateur mistakes. You expect from some of these larger companies, like exponential randomized backoff. This is something I was doing in 2016 for a small kitchen startup, right? Like this is stuff that we were doing as a 5-person team. Okay, there was 10 engineers. Sorry, 10-person team. This is what we were doing. Like, this feels to me, especially of critical infrastructure, when you're talking about things that, when they go down, and they take your entire thing down with you. This feels a little bit rough. But this had to be hard to admit. We will improve our external communications, both automated and human, so our customers get the information they need ASAP to react to issues, managing their systems, and help their customers. We will ensure monitoring and communication infrastructure remains operational to serve customers even when Google Cloud or our primary monitoring products are down, ensuring business continually. Yeah, this should be on AWS or Azure. Let's be serious. There's actually products you can pay that will do this. Get one of those. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. So I think this was hard. They actually had, in this entire scenario, they had a couple things that they really struggled with that seemed like things they shouldn't have to struggle with. One, I'm not going to blame them for this one. Things happen. You're pushing out a lot of code. In the age of AI hype, people are wanting you to push out code faster than you ever have and be more productive than you ever have without an actual product that helps you be faster. So that's actually one big thing to look at here. There's probably a lot of stress on the teams like that. We're in another area where there's layoffs, a lot of layoffs. These big companies are deciding to shed a lot of people that they brought on. And so another thing pushing you to produce more code more quickly. And so, you know what? Some checks were a feature flag. You know, feature flags are super useful. You should leverage them for all your things. But I get it. That could happen to anyone. The big things here was critical infrastructure, spanner, the spanner that they have here, which, let me be honest, is not the spanner that they use. They use a different spanner. Go ask somebody from Google. They use a different spanner. But the spanner that they used, the cloud, what was the binary that they were talking about? The service control binary. Neither of these had exponential backoff. So they got thundering herds. This is amateur hour. Thundering herds is not something unknown. These things are probably the bigger deal than the fact that there was something that didn't get a feature flag that should have had a feature flag. That happens. Oh, also the fact that your status page went down. Come on. Everyone knows that your status page cannot run off the same infrastructure. 2016 AWS taught us that. And the third lesson was it wasn't written in Rust. Again, amateur. All people know critical infrastructure should be written in Rust. Google should rewrite all of Google in Rust. I mean, they have AI, right? Gemini Pro. Should be easy. Should be fast. They should rewrite Google in just a couple of days. If we believe the hype. We believe the hype. Well, that's it for me today. It's about to start an ad, so I'm going to wrap up right now. So I'm going to wrap up so you guys don't have to see this ad. So you don't have to. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to get these out on YouTube. So like I said, if you guys miss them, I will be streaming Friday morning, not in the afternoon or not in the evening. Hope you guys like these. Like I said, I'm going to hopefully it will make the stream more visible for people. And yeah, have yourselves a fantastic rest of your week. And I will see you guys later. Thanks everybody for joining. Super awesome to see you guys. You guys should chat more while we're discussing these things. I will hit up chat messages as I'll get better about that. We'll see. Maybe I'll get better about it. Oh, and we'll have a puppy. Come here. Come here. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Yeah, you're saying goodbye.